My newlywed husband ruined my makeup and wedding dress by smacking my face on our wedding cake, so I gave him the fastest marriage of a lifetime. It has been 2 days since my wedding day. I had already been with him for 4 years, 1 year of which I was engaged. It all started a few months earlier when I noticed my husband Jake watching prank videos. Among other things, these videos showed embarrassing photos of the bride being played on a projector in front of the whole room or the bride's face being smashed into the cake. I told him straight away that I didn't want anything like that at our wedding. He just laughed and said that he wasn't planning anything like that. I thought that was the end of it, but I kept catching him making strange arrangements with his friends. He suddenly wanted to choose the wedding photographer and the cake. I thought nothing of it and was just glad that he was helping me with the wedding preparations. Nevertheless, I reminded him the day before that if he did something like that, I would break up with him immediately. When the day of the wedding came, everything went smoothly until the ceremony. Until the moment came when the cake was to be cut. The whole room watched as I made the first cut and the photographer stood in front of us with camera in hand. Suddenly I felt a hand on the back of my head pushing me face first into the cake. Not only my makeup but the whole wedding dress was ruined and the whole room laughed, my husband the loudest. At that moment the photographer took the photo and Jake said that this was now our wedding photo. I turned around, slapped him in the face and ran out of the room in tears. Thank God karma didn't take long to arrive and came in the form of his own brother. I ran to the toilet and started crying when I suddenly heard loud shouting from the hall. It was his brother Frank. I could barely understand what he was saying, and when I left the toilet he was waiting for me. He told me that Jake had something to tell me. Jake was shaking and apologized without looking me in the eye. Frank told him to look me in the eye and apologize again. Even I was a bit scared of Frank at that moment, because I had always thought of him as a kind and gentle man. I had never seen him angry before. Jake apologized again and then Frank led us back into the hall, which was suddenly very quiet, and most of our families looked down at the floor a little embarrassed. The festivities were cut short and I was taken home by Frank because I was too angry with my husband and I didn't want to see him. During the ride, Fran apologized for blowing up like that. He explained that my husband was horrible even back when he was a brother and used every special occasion to humiliate Frank. When it was Frank's birthday, my husband would throw his cake at him and break his presents. But back then, their parents always brushed it all off by saying that that's just how brothers behave. So he had to endure every humiliation. But when he saw my husband bury my face in the cake, he was fed up because he realized that my husband was just a bad person who got his satisfaction from humiliating others. I asked Frank if he thought it would be an exaggeration if I separated from my husband, and he said no, because according to him I deserved better and he didn't care how his brother felt about it because he had brought it on himself. Then he told me that if I needed help collecting my things he would help me and gave me his number. And I decided to separate from him and file for divorce and inform Jake and my family about it. Jake just told me not to do that because it was just a harmless prank. I was spammed by both his family and mine that it would be ridiculous to end our marriage over this, but I see it differently. If he does something like this to me despite multiple requests not to do it even after promising he wouldn't do it, then I can't trust him. No matter what he promises me, I have to assume that the opposite can and will happen, and that he doesn't care at all how I feel about his decisions. This situation can be projected onto so many much worse situations where it would be important for me to be able to trust him. His brother Frank seems to be the only one who supports me now, and I will go through with the divorce. Call me humorless, call me what you want, but I have given my reasons. Update. So a day after I wrote the original post I went to Jake's apartment to get my stuff. I slept over at my best friend's house in the meanwhile. Of course I also took up Frank's offer to help me getting my stuff. When we arrived there he pleaded with me that it was just a prank and he didn't mean to hurt me. But the only thing I could think about is how he broke my trust before and how I couldn't trust him now if he told me he didn't mean to hurt me. When he saw Frank his face turned red and he yelled at Frank and accused him of poisoning me against him. Don't worry Jake, you did this yourself. He argued with Frank for a while and Frank confronted him with everything he did to him during his childhood. He told Frank to grow a pair and that he should forget about what happened back then. Ironic when he's the one who never changed and is just as bad as before. He constantly tried to talk to me but Frank stood in his way and talked over him, and when we left I saw how he angrily smashed the door. Apparently he now spreaded lies to his family that Frank tried to steal me from him. Luckily I was able to see who he really was before it was too late. What a coincidence that after this incident my family spammed me with messages as well about how we should talk to a therapist instead of breaking up over this. They only stopped when I threatened them to cut them off too. I also didn't plan to share this with you, but so many people suggested it that I thought I could at least ask him, so after we got my stuff I asked Frank out, but he rejected me, telling me that he's already dating someone else. I just wanted to tell you this so you can stop asking. But honestly I'm also kinda glad this was his answer, because it means he didn't just help me because there was a malicious intent behind it, but more because he is simply a good person. Regardless, I told him about my post here and Frank told me he read many of your comments. He said he liked your comments and that you made his day. I thought you might want to know this. This is probably the first and last update of this. I just want to get this behind me and look forward. But thank y'all for your support.